Hi, my name is Lisa Costello, and I'm an operations manager at a leading manufacturer of radiology equipment such as MRI, CT, oncology, cardiovascular, and X-ray systems. I've been here for close to 14 years, and what I'd like to talk about today is a very recent reorganization and the effect that it had on my job. So some of the items I'm going to touch on today include exactly what a reorganization is, um, how are the employees told that are affected by this reorganization? What's a severance package? What's an org chart and why is it so important when there's a reorganization? What if you get a new manager? How do you go about getting to know your new manager? So the first thing I'm going to start with is exactly what a reorganization is. And you may have heard it called a restructure or perhaps an optimization. But basically what a reorg is aligning job responsibilities for a new vision for a business. Okay. And sometimes when this happens, jobs are eliminated. Sometimes new jobs are created. And sometimes certain jobs that were eliminated are absorbed into other jobs, which is this case with myself, and I'll get into that a little bit later. So the first thing I want to talk about is how is the employee told that their job is being eliminated. So I'll talk a little bit about this experience, and basically the timeline was pretty quick with this reorg. On Monday, January 7th of this year, these employees whose jobs were eliminated were told that their last day on the job would be Friday, January 18th. That was last Friday. When this information is relayed to the employee, HR and the direct manager are present. In the case of the employees that were affected by this restructure, most of them work remotely, meaning they don't report directly to an office every day. So this was done via a phone call. Okay, so first they're going to tell them, what's the reason for your job being eliminated? And there's, several factors that play into that. Sometimes it's merely just to decrease the cost of an organization, and they just need to reduce the number of jobs to do so. Sometimes it could be sales related, product related. And what I mean by that is maybe a company isn't selling as much of a product as they previously were, or they just stopped selling it altogether. So they no longer need these employees to support it, so they have to eliminate the job. You may have also heard about manufacturing being moved to other countries such as China, just because of the decreased cost in labor. So those employees in the US unfortunately lose their job because they move it to China. Now, in this particular case, this is about two organizations that work for the same company combining into one. Also, there have been, I've heard of reorganizations that it's one company buys another company out and they combine. But in my personal experience here, this is about two organizations that work for the same company merging into one. Okay. Let's talk a little bit about the severance package. The severance package is the payment that the employee is going to receive after their last day on the job. And many times the payment is based on the number of years worked at the company. So a common one that I've heard of is 2 weeks of pay for every year on the job. A severance package can also include unused vacation time, holiday time, or sick time. Severance packages can also extend medical insurance coverage for a certain period of months. Sometimes severance packages have verbiage that states that the employee can't work for a competitor for a certain period of time. I want to talk a little bit about the impact that a reorg can have on the remaining employees. And I'll speak specifically to this one that I'm experiencing. We went from two organizations to one. So in some cases, that means that you have twice the positions prior to launching this new organization. So you have too many, for example, too many managers, because you only need one manager per department before you had two. So this means that the higher level executive management has a hard decision to make. Which manager do I keep? In my case, my counterpart was let go. So her last day was last Friday. So what I had to do is I had to sit with her and learn certain aspects of her job because I was absorbing part of her job. So as you can imagine, I'm sure this was like really high on her priority list to do, but nonetheless, I needed to do this to move forward with the new organization. So how I approached this was I gave her a couple days to process what had happened, and then I scheduled shorter periods of time over several days. So I would schedule about an hour a day for 5 days in our calendar, and that just gave her a break. Because like I say, I'm sure this is the last thing she wants to be doing right now, but also it gave me an opportunity to think on what we discussed and come back with more questions. So some of the things that we discussed is emails that she needs to forward me, if she was owner of certain websites or processes, to transfer that ownership to me, and basically just general job responsibilities. So unfortunately, when this happens and employees are let go, there is no formal email that's sent to the remaining organization. Eventually an org chart will be sent out, but immediately when it happens, there's no email that goes out the same day that says this is who was affected by this. So in the case of my team, it directly affects what they do, because they part of what they do is they schedule some employees to be in front of customers. So those employees that were affected, my team needed to know right away so that they could clear their schedules and find replacements. So I was telling them pretty much, the same day that it happened, which the rest of the organization had to wait for a new updated organization chart to be shared with everyone. It's really important to act on this quickly, because you don't want your customers to be affected by a restructure like this. For the customer, it should be business as usual. So the last thing that you want the customer to know is that whoever was going to support their facility is not supporting it anymore because they were riffed or because they were let go. The best way to handle this is to just tell the customer they're no longer with the company, and just keep it very vague and don't give them any specifics. So as I talked about the org chart earlier, I wanted to share this with everybody, because this is key. When there's a restructure and new jobs are created or jobs are eliminated, this is how the remaining organization finds out what the new organization looks like. So in this example, and this is just a basic one, but you see at the top here is the general manager. And then reporting to the general manager is finance and human resources. So they both report into the general manager. And then you have these three levels down here, which is process development, operations, and product marketing. Now, in a complete org chart, there would be names in all of these right here, so that everybody knows who the new managers are and who the new leader is. And as well as these would be all of the direct reports for these managers. So that's how you know who reports to who, and there would be names in all of these. Now, our organization now is probably close to 180 people. So we have it's a pretty large org chart, but this was sent to the remaining organization at the end of the first week. This was sent, and the managers were able to share this with their teams, and it's an important piece. For me, I use that org chart to learn who my new counterparts are, because how my team does their job has changed. The people that they're working with has changed, and I need to understand their processes and who our go-to people are for questions. So I examined the org chart quite extensively, and then last week I was reaching out to numerous fellow managers and scheduling time with them and scheduling time with them with my team so that we could ask questions and, find out who we need to go to for certain aspects of the job. So as part of this reorganization, I have a new manager and I have two new direct reports reporting into me as a result of this reorganization. So how do you get to know your new manager, especially for these employees that are remote, that really aren't seeing them on a daily basis? I think it's still really important to meet your manager face to face at least once, so that it just means a lot. So what a lot of companies do is they have manager assimilation meetings. And usually these meetings are facilitated by an HR representative. And it's basically a way for the manager's team to get to know their new manager. And it's kind of an icebreaker. You can ask questions of your manager, common questions. I've been through a lot of these in my years here at this company. Common questions include, how do you like to be communicated with? Do you prefer email? Do you want me to just call you, text? Do you have an open door policy? Do you want me to copy you on, all of my emails that I send out? Or do you just want me to notify you if there's some kind of escalation or emergency? It's just a good way to, and then you just learn more about the manager. They kind of make it fun where you can ask them questions about where they were raised, if they have siblings, if they have kids, where they like to go on vacation. It's just kind of like a fun, and especially during a time like this when there's so much change, I think it's really important to have that time. So I'm fairly certain that as far as, because we have, a new director appointed to us, so I'm pretty sure that we'll be having one of these in the very near future, at least for the managers that are going to report into this new director. And then those managers that have new direct reports, they'll probably do the same, just to get, a feel for the employees, to get a feel for their manager, as well as the manager to kind of get to know to get to know their team. So, as I said, I have a new manager. Out of all of the departments, I think that this reorganization affected my team the most. It changes our business model. They used to do their jobs by business, and now we do it by zone. So they're working with completely different people on a regular basis. New managers, new project managers, the customer-facing people that they're working with has changed. So this is quite a big change for them. So for me, we didn't find out who our new director was until last Friday. So the 18th, we find out who our new leader is, our new director, and Monday is when we're moving forward with this new organization. So I had been working on all of the changes, that need to happen as a result of this organization, but I didn't know who my new leader was going to be, who my new manager was. So almost immediately after the announcement was made, I had to pick up the phone and call my new manager to let her know what my plan was and, what we had been doing up to that point to launch this new business model. So, I thought it was really important as far as like, I didn't want to shove too much down my team's throat. So I really thought it was important to take a phased approach and take kind of one change at a time and give it 2 to 3 weeks for each change. And then in like 3 months, we would be fully transitioned into this new organization, this new business model. So I thought, even though she was just appointed, because my team, our department was affected so drastically, I thought that it was really important that I reach out and give her a call. So, luckily she did, she kind of concurred with where I see this going. I'm sure that her and I will have future discussions, obviously, about it. But for now, I think that we're okay until, she'll probably come into this office and meet with the operations team as well. But I felt good, after our conversation, I think it's really important to reach out. So, all in all, I've been here, as I said, almost 14 years. There have been other reorgs, restructures in my time here, but I was never really affected. I always maintained, it didn't really affect my job as much. And luckily, I never lost my job. This one was, pretty big for me. It changes the whole way that my team does their job. I inherited 2 new direct reports. I have a new manager. I'm looking forward to the change. I think it's going well so far. And all I can do from this point on is embrace it and move forward. So thank you. Bye-bye.